Welcome. This explainer was made by Forge College. All right, time to take off those brightly colored Solana sunglasses from our last lesson. Yeah, key Solana terminology and context was a blast, but today we are firmly putting our dark green auditor hats back on. We're heading straight back into the Bitcoin mines for our module on consensus mechanisms and security, which is a core part of the Bitcoin fundamentals track. Today, we're looking at the absolute bedrock of Web3, security assumptions and threat models in Nakamoto consensus.
Here is the blueprint for today's heist. Section 1. Back to Bitcoin security. 2. The 3 security pillars. 3. Auditor mental models. 4. Threat scenarios in action. 5. Layered network defenses. And finally, 6. The probabilistic conclusion.
Section 1. Back to Bitcoin security. Transitioning back to the mines.
So, we already know the basic mechanics of how blocks propagate around the network, right? But what absolute truths actually have to exist for those mechanisms to keep the ledger secure? Well, it all comes down to Nakamoto consensus. This is the rule that resolves competing histories by always preferring the chain with the most accumulated proof of work. The golden rule here is incredibly simple. The longest work chain wins. It's an elegant mechanism that makes it ridiculously hard and astronomically expensive to override the honest majority.
Section 2. The 3 security pillars, or the vault's blueprints. To really understand how secure this massive decentralized bank vault is, we have got to look at the 3 pillars holding the roof up. Think of these as the implicit rules of the game. First up, we need an honest majority. That just means honest nodes are producing more than 50% of the computational work. Second is network synchrony, which is honestly just a fancy way of saying blocks propagate across the globe really fast. And third, economic rationality. We assume miners are logical actors who just want to maximize their financial returns. If even one of these pillars cracks, well, the whole system gets pretty wobbly.
Section 3. Auditor mental models are tools of the trade.
So, how do we actually test those pillars in the real world? We use 3 specific mental models to turn abstract cryptographic theory into highly visual practical concepts. Think of these as 3 different lenses on your auditor glasses. We've got the work budget model to measure required effort, the network bathtub model to visualize data flow, and the miner marketplace model to understand human incentives.
Looking through our first lens, the work budget dictates that reversing transactions requires an attacker to literally outspend the cumulative effort of the entire honest network. Overriding history basically acts as a ledger of required work, so it costs time, energy, and a massive amount of computing resources proportional to the current block difficulty. It's essentially a giant energy wall.
Then we have my absolute favorite analogy, the network bathtub. Picture the entire network as a giant bathtub. The tap pouring water in? Those are the new blocks being mined. The drain? That represents validation and propagation delays across the globe. Now, if new blocks pour in from the tap faster than they can drain across the network, the water level rises, and the risk of network forks completely overflows.
Section 4. Threat scenarios in action. Running the simulations. Okay, time for the fun part. Let's play the bad guys. To build good defenses, you have to think like an attacker, right? Here is scenario A, attacking our honest majority assumption. Step 1. An attacker rents a temporary hashpower majority. Step 2. They secretly mine a private fork. Step 3. They spend confirmed outputs on the main chain, maybe buy a sports car or something. And Step 4. They release their hidden, longer fork to overtake the main chain, effectively returning the money to themselves. This is the classic, devastating 51% attack, resulting in a double spend.
Now for scenario B, an eclipse attack. This one directly attacks our network bathtub. Step 1, you isolate a subset of honest target nodes. Step 2, you feed them only attacker-controlled blocks. Essentially, you've secretly plugged the bathtub drain for a specific victim. Steps 3 and 4, because they are completely isolated from the rest of the world, you only need to outproduce their tiny local hash power to rewrite their entire view of reality. Pretty scary stuff.
Finally, scenario C goes after our third pillar, economic rationality. This involves bribery and temporary collusion. It's just simple math, really. If a malicious actor offers a massive bribe that is strictly greater than the expected honest mining revenue, then suddenly breaking the rules becomes far more mathematically rational than following them.
Section 5. Layered network defenses. Locking the vault.
So once you know exactly how this vault can be broken into, the next logical step is figuring out how to lock it down. How do we actually stop these digital heists without completely rewriting the core Bitcoin protocol? We do it through layered defenses. We increase confirmation depth for high-value transfers.
We actively enhance our node peer diversity and use whitelisting so we don't get eclipsed. We monitor the network for abnormal orphan block rates to spot hidden forks. And of course, we watch like hawks for unexpected fee manipulation or bribes.
But remember, every single mitigation comes with a trade-off. Demanding more confirmations, well, it completely exhausts the attacker's work budget, but it forces honest users to wait much longer for their transactions to actually settle. Similarly, ensuring peer diversity prevents node isolation, but it requires a really high operational effort from node runners. Ultimate security always costs a bit of convenience, and this delicate balance is exactly why understanding these models matters so much to everyday users.
Section 6. The probabilistic conclusion, our final audit report.
As we wrap up this audit, we have to face a somewhat uncomfortable truth about blockchain. I absolutely love this quote. Security in Nakamoto consensus is the intersection of three domains: cryptographic integrity, resource distribution, and operational network conditions. Ultimate security in this system is never a 100% mathematical guarantee. It is a beautifully probabilistic balance of cryptography, hardware distribution, and network health. If one fails, the whole system relies entirely on the others to hold the line.
Which leaves us with one massive, looming question. If security relies entirely on hashpower distribution, just how decentralized is Bitcoin today? That is exactly the question we'll be tackling in our next explainer. Until then, please visit forge.college to keep exploring this and all the other fascinating mechanics of Web3. This explainer was made by Forge College. Keep those auditor hats on, and I'll see you next time.